Welcome to Quick Sleep, a quiet place where stories come alive, just as your day winds down. Take a deep breath, let go of the noise, and allow your imagination to drift into a world of gentle tales and peaceful dreams. You're listening to Quick Sleep, bedtime stories to calm your mind. In the mist-shrouded hills of Kyushu, where the morning sun painted the rice paddies in golden hues, and the ancient cedar trees stood like silent sentinels, a new era was dawning for Japan. It was the late Heian period, around 900 AD, and the once mighty imperial court in Kyoto found its power waning as regional lords began to consolidate their influence. This shift would give birth to a warrior class that would define Japanese history for centuries to come: the samurai. The origins of these warriors can be traced to the provincial military governors, or kondei, appointed by the central government to maintain order in the increasingly restless countryside. These early bushi, as they were called, emerged from the ranks of local landowners who had taken up arms to protect their territories from bandits and rival clans. Unlike the effeminate nobles of the imperial court, who spent their days composing poetry and engaging in elaborate ceremonies, these frontier warriors developed practical skills in mounted archery and swordsmanship, adapting techniques from Chinese and Korean military traditions. The transformation of these rural defenders into what we now recognize as samurai began with the rise of powerful warrior families, like the Taira and Minamoto clans. These clans, originally serving as imperial bodyguards and military leaders, gradually amassed wealth and influence through strategic marriages and military conquests. The Genpei War, 1181–85, between these two clans marked a pivotal moment in Japanese history, culminating in the establishment of the Kamakura shogunate under Minamoto no Yoritomo. This victory effectively shifted political power from the imperial court to the warrior class, creating a feudal system where military prowess became the currency of influence. During this formative period, the concept of Bushido, the way of the warrior, began to take shape. While not yet codified into the formal code it would become, the early principles of loyalty, martial skill, and honor were already taking root among these warriors. They lived by an unwritten understanding that their swords were not merely weapons but extensions of their spirit, and their lives were dedicated to service and protection. The distinctive curved swords they carried, evolving from earlier straight-bladed designs, symbolized both their martial expertise and their emerging cultural identity. These early samurai lived in fortified manors scattered across the Japanese landscape, maintaining small armies of retainers and developing sophisticated strategies for both warfare and governance. Their daily lives revolved around rigorous training in martial arts, administrative duties, and the cultivation of cultural refinements that would later become hallmarks of their class. From their elevated position on horseback, armed with the deadly combination of bow and sword, they commanded respect and fear throughout the provinces. As the 12th century drew to a close, The foundations of samurai culture were firmly established. The warrior class had transformed from simple rural protectors into a complex social hierarchy with its own codes of conduct, aesthetic sensibilities, and philosophical outlook. The stage was set for the emergence of legendary figures whose names would echo through Japanese history, men who would embody the ideals of courage, loyalty, and martial excellence that defined the samurai way of life. Among these rising stars was a young warrior named Masahiro Tanaka, whose story would soon become intertwined with the turbulent events that would shape feudal Japan's destiny. In the rugged mountains of Wakasa province, where wild cherry blossoms clung stubbornly to steep cliffs and the morning mists concealed ancient secrets, a young boy named Masahiro Tanaka watched his father prepare for battle. Lord Hiroshi Tanaka, a seasoned warrior of the Takeda clan, moved with the practiced grace of a man who had spent decades perfecting his craft. His armor gleamed in the early light, each plate meticulously maintained, while his katana rested comfortably at his side like an old friend. To young Masahiro, his father embodied everything noble about the samurai tradition: strength tempered by wisdom, courage balanced by compassion. Masahiro's childhood unfolded against a backdrop of constant tension between the great clans. The year was 1274, and rumors of Mongol invasions had reached even their remote stronghold. The Kublai Khan's forces had already tested Japan's defenses, and preparations for renewed conflict dominated every aspect of life. Under his father's watchful eye, Masahiro began his training at age 7, starting with basic calligraphy and Confucian studies before progressing to physical conditioning and weapon handling. Unlike many young warriors who focused solely on martial arts, Lord Hiroshi insisted that his son master both pen and sword, believing that true leadership required mastery of both mind and body. The young samurai's first taste of combat came unexpectedly during a surprise raid by the Hojo clan's forces. At just 14 years old, Masahiro found himself standing shoulder to shoulder with veteran warriors as enemy arrows darkened the sky. His hands trembled on his short sword, but he remembered his father's words: "A true warrior controls his fear. For courage is not the absence of fear, but mastery over it." That day, Masahiro distinguished himself by saving an injured comrade under heavy fire, earning his first mark of honor and proving his mettle to skeptical elders. His rapid ascent through the ranks caught the attention of Lord Shungen Takeda himself, who invited Masahiro to join his personal guard. Under Takeda's tutelage, Masahiro honed his skills in cavalry tactics and strategy, learning to read the subtle shifts in battlefield dynamics that separated mere soldiers from true commanders. His natural talent for reading terrain and anticipating enemy movements earned him increasing responsibility, culminating in his appointment as a junior commander at the unprecedented age of 18. The turning point in Masahiro's career came during the Second Mongol invasion of 1281. Stationed at Hakata Bay with a contingent of 500 men, he faced overwhelming odds when the massive Mongol fleet appeared on the horizon. Rather than retreat as some advisors suggested, Masahiro proposed a daring strategy, using the narrow channels and treacherous currents to divide and conquer the invading forces. His plan succeeded beyond expectation, allowing the smaller Japanese force to inflict devastating losses on the Mongols while minimizing their own casualties. This victory brought Masahiro national recognition, but more importantly, it solidified his reputation as a leader who valued innovation over tradition. Unlike many samurai who rigidly adhered to established tactics, Masahiro demonstrated a willingness to adapt and evolve, combining classical Bushido principles with practical battlefield experience. His success earned him command of a 1,000-strong unit within the Takeda army, making him one of the youngest high-ranking officers in recent memory. Throughout his rise, Masahiro remained deeply connected to his roots. He maintained close ties with his family's ancestral lands, ensuring that prosperity flowed back to the people who had supported his journey. This commitment to community, combined with his growing reputation as a skilled tactician and honorable warrior, attracted talented followers who swore fealty to his banner. By the time he reached 22, Masahiro had built a formidable network of alliances spanning multiple provinces, positioning himself as both a respected military leader and a potential power broker in the increasingly complex web of feudal politics. Yet for all his achievements, Masahiro remained haunted by a vision his father had shared on his deathbed, a dream of a united Japan, free from the endless cycle of clan warfare. This vision would guide his decisions in the years to come, so shaping his approach to both diplomacy and conflict as he navigated the treacherous waters of feudal politics. With each victory and alliance, Masahiro moved closer to realizing his father's dream, though he could not yet see how completely it would transform his destiny. As Masahiro's influence grew, so too did the complexity of feudal Japan's political landscape. The nation had fragmented into hundreds of domains, each ruled by powerful daimyo, who wielded near absolute authority within their territories. These regional lords operated under a delicate balance of mutual obligations and rivalries, their relationships governed by a complex web of alliances, blood ties, and historical grudges that stretched back generations. At the pinnacle of this hierarchy sat the shogun, theoretically the supreme military dictator, though in practice his power often depended on the support of the most influential daimyo. Masahiro's position within this intricate system proved both advantageous and perilous. As a trusted commander of the Takeda clan, he enjoyed significant resources and manpower, but this association also made him a target for rival clans seeking to weaken Takeda influence. The Uesugi clan to the north viewed his growing power with particular suspicion, while the Hojo clan in the Kanto region saw opportunity in potentially turning Masahiro against his current masters. Diplomatic envoys arrived regularly at his fortress, bearing gifts and marriage proposals designed to secure alliances or sow discord. The economic foundation of this feudal system rested on carefully cultivated rice fields and strategic trade routes. Each domain maintained detailed records of agricultural production, with rice serving as both sustenance and currency. Masahiro's lands included some of the most fertile valleys in Wakasa province, producing high-quality rice that commanded premium rates in markets across Japan. This agricultural wealth allowed him to maintain a standing army of several thousand men, though the true strength of his domain lay in its network of vassals and subordinate lords who owed him military service and tribute. Military organization followed strict hierarchical lines, with samurai ranked according to their status and accomplishments. At the top stood Masahiro himself, surrounded by his immediate retinue of senior commanders and advisors. Below them were the mounted samurai, elite warriors who combined archery skills with swordsmanship, followed by foot soldiers and specialized units trained in siege warfare or naval combat. Supporting these warriors were thousands of ashigaru, peasant soldiers who formed the backbone of any large-scale campaign. Social structure mirrored this military hierarchy, with the samurai class occupying the top tier of society. Beneath them came farmers, artisans, and merchants, each group bound by specific duties and privileges. Masahiro took particular care to maintain good relations with the merchant class, recognizing their crucial role in supplying weapons, armor, and other essential goods. His innovative approach to trade agreements helped stabilize prices for vital commodities like iron and silk, earning him favor among both his own people and neighboring domains. Religious institutions played a significant role in feudal politics, with Buddhist temples and Shinto shrines wielding considerable influence. Masahiro cultivated close ties with prominent monasteries, particularly those housing warrior monks known for their martial prowess. These relationships proved invaluable during times of conflict, as religious sanctuaries often served as neutral ground for negotiations or safe havens during retreats. Additionally, the spiritual legitimacy provided by temple endorsements strengthened Masahiro's claim to leadership among his followers. The legal framework governing this feudal society derived from an agreement of imperial decrees, warrior codes, and local customs, while the emperor maintained theoretical sovereignty from his palace in Kyoto. Actual governance occurred at the domain level through a system of written laws and oral traditions. Masahiro implemented a progressive justice system that emphasized mediation and restitution over punishment, earning praise from both peasants and samurai alike. His courts handled disputes ranging from minor property disagreements to serious criminal cases, always operating under the principle that harmony within the domain contributed to its overall strength. Cultural practices reflected the values of the samurai class while incorporating elements from various social strata. Poetry competitions, tea ceremonies, and artistic patronage flourished alongside martial training, creating a unique blend of refinement and discipline. Masahiro himself became known for his appreciation of no theater and calligraphy, hosting regular gatherings that attracted artists and scholars from across Japan. These cultural exchanges served dual purposes. They reinforced social bonds while providing opportunities for discreet political discussions. Marriage alliances formed another crucial aspect of feudal politics. with Masahiro strategically arranging unions between his family members and those of allied clans. Each marriage created new obligations and strengthened existing ties, while simultaneously expanding his sphere of influence. However, these arrangements often proved double-edged swords, as they could lead to conflicts of loyalty when different branches of the family found themselves on opposing sides of disputes. Perhaps the most challenging aspect of navigating this feudal landscape was managing the expectations of vassals and subordinates. Masahiro implemented a merit-based system for promotion, rewarding competence and loyalty over mere birthright. This approach occasionally caused friction with traditionalist elements within his domain, but ultimately strengthened his position by attracting talented individuals who might otherwise have sought service elsewhere. Regular inspections of vassal holdings ensured compliance with domain policies while demonstrating Masahiro's commitment to fair governance. Through careful balancing of these various elements, military strength, economic stability, cultural sophistication, and diplomatic acumen, Masahiro carved out a position of relative security within the volatile world of feudal Japan. Yet he remained acutely aware that the same forces that had elevated him could just as easily bring about his downfall. In this era of shifting alliances and constant warfare, survival demanded not only martial skill but also political astuteness and an unwavering commitment to the welfare of one's domain. The spring of 1305 found Masahiro facing his greatest challenge yet, a coalition of three major clans led by the ambitious Lord Akira Shimazu, who sought to expand his territory through conquest of Masahiro's strategically vital lands. The confrontation would take place at the confluence of the Kurobe and Jinzu rivers, where the natural terrain formed a perfect arena for battle. Masahiro's scouts reported that the enemy forces numbered nearly 20,000. Significantly outnumbering his own army of 12,000 warriors. Rather than succumbing to conventional wisdom, which suggested fortifying defensive positions along the riverbanks, Masahiro devised an unconventional strategy, drawing upon his experiences during the Mongol invasions. He recognized that the key to victory lay in exploiting the enemy's numerical advantage against them. Over several sleepless nights, he meticulously planned a multi-stage operation that would test the limits of his warriors' discipline and coordination. The battle commenced at dawn with a carefully orchestrated feint. Masahiro sent a detachment of 500 mounted archers across the Kurobe River, deliberately leaving their flanks exposed to enemy attack. As expected, the Shimazu forces responded aggressively, sending their entire cavalry wing to pursue what appeared to be an easy victory. The pursuing forces fell directly into Masahiro's trap, a series of hidden trenches and caltrops that shattered their formations and left them vulnerable to concentrated volleys of arrows from concealed positions in the surrounding woods. Simultaneously, Masahiro executed the second phase of his plan. Under cover of thick morning mist, he personally led a force of 3,000 infantry across a rarely used ford upstream, successfully outflanking the main Shimazu army. This maneuver threatened to cut off their supply lines and escape routes, forcing Lord Shimazu to divide his attention between multiple threats. The psychological impact of this unexpected development proved as damaging as any physical assault, sowing confusion and panic among the coalition forces. The turning point came when Masahiro's elite cavalry unit, commanded by his trusted Lieutenant Noboru, launched a devastating charge against the enemy's rear guard, timing their attack perfectly with the rising sun at their backs. They created chaos among the already disoriented Shimazu troops. The glare of sunlight reflecting off polished armor blinded defenders, while the thundering hooves of charging horses drowned out oars and warnings. Within minutes, the coalition's center began to collapse under the coordinated pressure from multiple directions. However, victory came at a cost. During the final stages of the battle, Masahiro found himself engaged in single combat with Lord Shimazu's champion, a renowned warrior named Takeshi Hattori. Their duel lasted nearly an hour, each combatant testing the other's skill and endurance. Despite sustaining a deep wound to his left arm, Masahiro eventually prevailed, using his opponent's momentum against him in a technique he had perfected during countless hours of training. The death of their champion broke the remaining resistance among the coalition forces, leading to a general rout. The aftermath revealed the full extent of Masahiro's tactical genius. Casualty reports showed that his forces had suffered only moderate losses despite being outnumbered, while the coalition army had been effectively destroyed as a fighting force. More importantly, the battle demonstrated Masahiro's ability to innovate while respecting traditional samurai virtues. His warriors had shown remarkable discipline in executing complex maneuvers, and his personal example of courage in the face of overwhelming odds had inspired them to achieve what many considered impossible. News of the victory spread rapidly through the provinces, transforming Masahiro from a regional power into a national figure. Letters of congratulation arrived from distant domains, and several minor lords immediately pledged their allegiance to his banner. The battle also served notice to other potential rivals that Masahiro represented a new breed of samurai leader, one who combined classical martial virtues with modern strategic thinking. In the weeks following the battle, Masahiro implemented another innovation that would influence samurai warfare for generations. Recognizing the critical role that intelligence and communication had played in his victory, he established a permanent network of scouts and couriers throughout his domain. These specially trained warriors, known as Kagemusha, would serve as both spies and rapid messengers, ensuring that future campaigns benefited from superior information and coordination. The Battle of Twin Rivers marked a watershed moment in Masahiro's career, and in the evolution of samurai warfare. It demonstrated that victory need not depend solely on numbers or brute force, but could be achieved through careful planning, psychological manipulation, and precise execution. More significantly, it showed that traditional samurai values could coexist with innovative military thinking, paving the way for future developments in Japanese martial arts and strategy. As Masahiro's legend grew, so too did his commitment to refining the principles that guided his actions both on and off the battlefield. The philosophical foundation of Bushido, still evolving in these early centuries, found in him both a practitioner and an innovator. Unlike many contemporary samurai who viewed the code primarily as a martial doctrine, Masahiro understood that true mastery of Bushido required equal dedication to intellectual and spiritual pursuits. This holistic approach manifested in his daily life, from the rigorous training regimen he maintained well into his 30s, to the scholarly circles he cultivated in his castle's newly constructed library. Central to Masahiro's interpretation of Bushido was the concept of harmony through strength, a philosophy that rejected the notion that martial prowess and cultural refinement were mutually exclusive. Each morning began with meditation in his private garden, where carefully arranged stones and flowing water represented the balance he sought in life. These contemplative sessions prepared him for the day's challenges, whether they involved negotiating trade agreements, adjudicating disputes, or planning military campaigns. His retainers noted how these moments of quiet reflection often yielded insights that proved decisive in both diplomacy and warfare. The relationship between lord and vassal took on new dimensions under Masahiro's leadership. Rather than treating his warriors as mere instruments of power, he fostered genuine bonds of mutual respect and obligation. Weekly assemblies brought together samurai of all ranks to discuss matters of strategy, ethics, and governance. These meetings weren't mere formalities. Masahiro actively encouraged dissenting opinions and rewarded innovative thinking. When a young Ashigaru named Kenji proposed improvements to infantry formations based on observations of crane flocks, Masahiro not only implemented the changes but promoted the soldier to a position of leadership. Loyalty, traditionally viewed as absolute obedience to one's lord, evolved under Masahiro's guidance into something more nuanced. He taught that true loyalty meant speaking truth to power when necessary, even if it risked personal advancement. This philosophy was dramatically illustrated when his closest advisor, Lord Fujimoto, publicly challenged his plans for a punitive expedition against a rebellious vassal. Instead of punishing this perceived insubordination, Masahiro embraced the criticism, altering his approach to focus on reconciliation rather than retribution. This successful resolution of the conflict without bloodshed became a celebrated example of Bushido in action. Honorable conduct extended beyond the battlefield to encompass all aspects of governance. Masahiro instituted reforms that protected the rights of peasants and merchants, recognizing that a stable society required more than military might. His code of mutual prosperity established fair pricing for agricultural products, regulated interest rates on loans, and created a system of public granaries to prevent famine. These measures, while initially met with skepticism from traditionalists, proved their worth during a severe drought in 1312 when mass starvation was avoided through careful planning and resource distribution. The aesthetic dimension of Bushido found particular expression in Masahiro's patronage of the arts. He believed that beauty and violence were not opposites but complementary forces that, when properly balanced, created a complete human being. Under his sponsorship, a new school of swordsmiths emerged, combining traditional forging techniques with innovative designs that enhanced both functionality and visual appeal. Similarly, his encouragement of no theater led to the development of plays that explored the moral dilemmas faced by warriors, providing both entertainment and ethical instruction. Education became another pillar of Masahiro's vision for samurai society. He established academies where young warriors learned not only martial skills but also literature, philosophy, and administration. These institutions produced a new generation of leaders who could navigate the complexities of both warfare and governance. Particularly influential was his emphasis on historical study, believing that understanding past conflicts provided valuable lessons for avoiding future ones. The comprehensive chronicles compiled under his direction became standard references for military strategists across Japan. Perhaps most significantly, Masahiro redefined the concept of seppuku, or ritual suicide, which had traditionally been seen as the ultimate expression of samurai honor. While maintaining its importance as a last resort, he advocated for alternative means of resolving shame or failure. His famous dictum, "True courage lies in living to correct one's mistakes," encouraged warriors to seek redemption through action rather than death. This shift in perspective saved countless lives while strengthening the bonds of loyalty within his domain. The integration of these philosophical principles into everyday life created a unique culture within Masahiro's domain. Markets thrived alongside dojos, poets debated with generals, and craftsmen worked alongside administrators. This synthesis of diverse elements reflected Masahiro's belief that a truly strong society must embrace all aspects of human endeavor. His success in implementing these ideas demonstrated that Bushido could evolve without losing its essential spirit, paving the way for future generations to build upon his innovations while remaining true to the core values of the samurai tradition. As Masahiro approached his 50th year, the fruits of his lifelong dedication to samurai ideals ripened into a legacy that would shape Japanese history for centuries to come. His innovative approach to governance, warfare, and cultural development had transformed not only his own domain but influenced neighboring provinces through a network of alliances and mutual exchange. The annual gathering of domain leaders at his castle had evolved into a forum for sharing best practices in administration, military strategy, and cultural patronage, creating a ripple effect of positive change throughout feudal Japan. The institutional framework Masahiro established proved remarkably resilient. His system of merit-based promotion, combined with rigorous education programs, created a steady stream of capable leaders who continued his work long after his death in 1335. The Tanaka schools he founded expanded beyond their original locations, spreading his educational philosophy across Japan. Generations of samurai leaders emerged from these institutions, carrying forward his vision of warrior scholars who could excel in both martial and civil affairs. Many of his administrative reforms, particularly those concerning agricultural management and trade regulation, were adopted by other domains and eventually influenced national policies during the Muromachi period. Perhaps Perhaps Masahiro's most enduring contribution lay in his reinterpretation of Bushido. His emphasis on adaptability, intellectual growth, and social responsibility transformed the warrior code from a rigid set of martial principles into a dynamic philosophy that could evolve with changing times. This flexibility proved crucial during subsequent periods of crisis, such as the Onin War and the Sengoku period, when samurai leaders needed to navigate unprecedented challenges while maintaining their traditional values. The concept of harmony through strength became a guiding principle for many successful daimyo, helping to moderate the worst excesses of feudal warfare, while preserving the essential spirit of the samurai class. The cultural institutions Masahiro nurtured flourished beyond his lifetime. The swordsmithing tradition he sponsored gave rise to several renowned schools that would produce masterpieces, celebrated to this day. His patronage of No theater helped establish it as a national art form, while his support for literary arts contributed to a golden age of historical writing and poetry. These cultural achievements transcended their immediate context, becoming integral parts of Japanese national identity that persist in modern times. Masahiro's influence extended beyond Japan's borders as well. Through his careful cultivation of maritime trade routes and diplomatic relations with Korea and China, he helped lay the groundwork for Japan's future engagement with the wider world. The merchant networks he protected and regulated would later play crucial roles in Japan's response to European contact during the 16th century. His emphasis on technological innovation and strategic thinking prepared future generations to meet these challenges with confidence and creativity. The political structures Masahiro helped develop proved surprisingly adaptable to changing circumstances. His meritocratic approach to leadership selection and his emphasis on institutional stability rather than personal power accumulation created a model that other domains emulated. This contributed to the gradual centralization of authority that would eventually lead to the Tokugawa shogunate's establishment. Even during the tumultuous transition from medieval to early modern Japan, many of Masahiro's principles regarding governance and social organization continue to inform policymaking. Today, Masahiro Tanaka is remembered not merely as a successful warlord, but as a visionary who helped shape the course of Japanese history. His tomb in Wakasa province remains a site of pilgrimage for students of Japanese culture and history, while his writings on governance and philosophy are studied in universities worldwide. The principles he championed, adaptability within tradition, strength tempered by wisdom, and progress guided by cultural continuity, continue to resonate in contemporary discussions about leadership and societal development. The samurai class itself underwent numerous transformations after Masahiro's time, but the fundamental values he helped define remained constant touchstones throughout its evolution. From the Ashikaga shogunate, through the Edo period and into the modern era, Japanese leaders have drawn inspiration from his example of combining martial excellence with cultural sophistication and social responsibility. Even in today's globalized world, the lessons of Masahiro's life and career offer valuable insights into the challenges of balancing tradition with innovation, power with responsibility, and individual achievement with collective well-being. As Japan continues to navigate its place in the 21st century, The legacy of Masahiro Tanaka serves as a reminder that true strength lies not in rejecting change but in embracing it while remaining true to one's core values. His story demonstrates how individuals can make lasting contributions to their society by building bridges between past and future, tradition and innovation, martial prowess and cultural refinement. In doing so, he created a template for leadership that remains relevant far beyond the specific historical context of feudal Japan.